What's going on, guys? RBR here, and welcome back to the Pitlane podcast, episode number 47 today for an off-race week podcast, joined by usual hosts, myself, Callum, and Tom. And today we also have a fourth man, a guest. We had Hayden on like 2 weeks ago, I think it was, and now we've got Joe, or Ayrturno UK, as you may know him, on YouTube, another member of the F1 community, a little bit older than Hayden was. I think you've been around since like 2012, 2013, isn't it?
Yeah, I think it's about 2013, so I've been around for a few years now,
So you may or may not know him. But Joe, since you're the guest here, let us know what you thought of the absolute thriller that was the Russian Grand Prix. We need to know your thoughts.
I'm just going to grab some popcorn real quick.
I mean, it's difficult to find the words to describe such a fantastic race. I think you can always judge the quality of a race from how much you're scrolling through Twitter. I think a lot of people sort of judge it by that. And Definitely. From about lap 5 through to lap 54 or however many laps are in it, I was just scrolling through Twitter for the whole time. So, not really much more you can describe. I was watching it with my dad. He fell asleep after 10 laps. So, I think that just about summarises the race, to be honest.
Decent. Tom, thoughts?
It was fine.
Actually,
Great.
Tom,
now on to Callum
it?
for the news.
Yeah,
exactly.
I was going to say, I think Tom
didn't watch
kind of missed
so it was
it.
fine.
But if there's any race
to
miss,
not watching it.
Yeah, it was more entertaining. Put it this way, put a little disclaimer: if you're not part of the whole Twitter F1 universe, you're missing out.
You're missing out, definitely.
There's some
that
serious.
That was the only way Russia was barely bearable, like just about.
Gifts and that.
Yeah,
gifts, pretty much.
I think more interesting news that came out of Russia was obviously the fact that we've got another Ferrari win, which kind of shocked the paddock quite a bit because a lot of people said, "Oh yeah, Russia." We've got another Ferrari pole, but I completely messed up there.
What are you
Bottas
on about,
got the
mate?
win.
I didn't watch the race.
I know what's happened. He had some crack during Russia to stay awake.
Yes. This is the thing. I actually fell asleep almost during it. But the biggest thing that came out of it was kind of the pointing fingers at Mercedes and wondering why they struggled so much during the race. But even Bottas struggled with the same issue as Hamilton. And obviously the main issue was overheating. And obviously Hamilton sat behind Raikkonen for a decent amount of that race and before he dropped completely back. And Bottas also had the same problems. Are we starting to see Mercedes kind of crack under pressure, realising that they've got a kind of they're quite on a knife edge with the performance and reliability of their car to try and beat Ferrari?
It's almost like 2013 Mercedes, almost kind of like harking back to that. Like they couldn't just keep the tyres going. They had their pretty decent car back in 2013. To be fair to them, like it was a pole-worthy car, like at some circuits, and they just couldn't keep it going. So it's almost like that. And it's almost like they have to go back and do their homework and sort of like relearn with these new harder tyres, like how to handle things. And I think they've got a bit of an issue. I think they'll have an issue on their hands eventually with now Bottas sort of making a statement. And, now like the press have said, now it's like maybe like a 4-way title fight almost, or 3-way, I guess. It depends on if you're counting Kimi Raikkonen in this. But, now that Bottas is sort of after the weekend where he was labelled as like a almost number 2 driver by the press, he's come back with that win, so maybe Mercedes also have that to contend with. So Ferrari's world is a lot happier than Mercedes for once.
Yeah, but it's also quite interesting you bring up 2013 actually, because I think they're kind of polar opposites to what they were in 2013. Because in 2013, I swear that they were the masters of the slow speed corner, hence why they were so quick in Monaco. They were so quick also in the final sector of Spain, and for quite the rest of the season. Whereas I think this year, a lot of people are saying that the Mercedes isn't very good in the slow-speed corners.
It's because of their wheelbase.
It's starting to struggle in, maybe because of the wheelbase. But it is quite interesting, though, that there's... Because obviously coming into this year, it looked like it was going to be a Mercedes walkover. But the fact that now, obviously, the whole reason, if you're not really up to, like, with the knowledge, the reason they had such big troubles with the overheating was the fact that obviously they had to close up the side pods, which obviously... it's less drag, but it's less air going into them side pods. And you think, because Mercedes have had all this, I don't know what the word is, experience in the past couple of years to really nail reliability, is it now just finally them having to go, right, sod it, we need to go throw caution to the wind, because otherwise on a projection we can't see ourselves winning?
That's a long question.
Yeah. I think Mercedes this year it's sort of the first time where they've almost had that expectation, whereas like 2013 they were very much the underdog. Red Bull had dominated for a few years, and then that 2014 to 2016 period they were pretty much unchallenged. So it was more of a battle between their own drivers. So whereas now you've got Ferrari who are really piling the pressure on them, and I think we're starting to see them crack a little bit, but. It'll be interesting to see how this season develops, whether they can actually sort of get on top of these issues and outdevelop Ferrari. But we'll have to see with regards to strategy as to how it pans out, I think.
Well, in regards to the development race, I think, Arif, we mentioned this earlier off the podcast. Red Bull have a B-Spec car coming for Spain. Could they get in that mix? Could they maybe be right between Ferrari and Mercedes? Could they really sort of throw a spanner in the works? And we mentioned the incredible record that Spain holds for the last 8 years, I believe. 8?
Oh,
9?
yeah, I saw this on Twitter.
Of different winners.
Yeah.
So, could Daniel
I think
Ricciardo be on for a win this race? To keep the record alive?
Either have to have Bottas or Ricciardo, really.
Yeah.
So, I think
carry
a lot
on
of people are praying
the thing,
Red Bull can be there. Because that would be the cherry on top of what's been pretty decent, very decent season. You had 3 different winners in the first 4 races. To have 2 Red Bull guys, Verstappen and Ricciardo, arguably one of the strongest pairings on the grid, to be right up there with a good car would be great. Right now they're sort of in no man's land. Like Verstappen even said he had a very boring race, just sort of watching the race himself like on the TV screens when he went past. So it's I'm hoping that we go to Red Bull. It's like one of those memes where like it's like such a simple wagon of a car, and then it turns into a bloody rocket ship with all the kind of bits flying off it.
Well, what I was going to say is, what do we think if this illustrious? Because the last time we had a B-Spec car come to the grid was Force India, and their B-Spec car did have quite a big change. So what do we really
it had
think?
Nostrils, mate.
Yeah,
so,
it had bloody nostrils. So
Red Bull going to have like ears, or like ears, or like a tail or something.
They're like the Mad Max car that they.
They're going to have wings. Red Bull, they can have wings.
Maybe,
Red Bull style.
yeah, but it's interesting because you do look at it and you think, so far, if you rate the season, we've had it's been decent. It's been really good. And by adding in another spanner and another mixer into that drink, into that cocktail, it could. And obviously, Max Verstappen, he's got plenty of experience. He bloody won it last year. So if he has got, because I kind of pray that Red Bull just kind of just bring a car that's just decent. That's like, as much as I'm a Hamilton fan and I just want him to maybe run off into the distance, I'm just kind of like, please, Red Bull, just deliver. And then it will set the season up quite well for the rest of the season, because arguably the 3 biggest teams in Formula 1 at the minute, all in a head-to-head development race, and arguably 6 of the best drivers on the grid as well in quite a long while. Like, bar maybe Raikkonen, but even Raikkonen can be good. And like obviously last time out, he was really decent in qualifying, actually beating both Mercedes.
Until the final corner in Q3.
Until the final corner, yeah. Yeah, I think it's kind of one of them things where you're just like, go on, do it. Dare you. I dare you do it. I dare you just get to that point. Well, so it will set the season up well.
After the last race, after the performance in qualifying, I know we mentioned this in the last podcast, I think it was, or the one before that, Raikkonen is going to have one of his funny spells again. I thought in Russia he was pretty much on par with Vettel, except for the race when Vettel was sort of really putting a shift. I think Kimi's going to come out of nowhere. I think he's going to pull something out of the bag.
I hope he does, because it's a real shame to like almost, all the cards are there, more 08 style cars. Raikkonen, he buoyed by what he did last season, a very strong season for him. And it's just a shame that he just can't put it all together, especially in the race. Again, he put in like a good fastest lap at the end of the Russian Grand Prix. It's like,
oh yeah,
he's showing signs. He's showing signs. I mean, after Bahrain, I think it was, he said he genuinely doesn't, like, he sort of admitted that he just doesn't know how to get on top of these cars. And since that, Russia happened, and he looked decent. So,
yeah,
he just needs to do it in the race.
Yeah, he needs to put that perfect weekend together, I think.
So I genuinely think, obviously he's got a reputation to bottle a few things, but let's say had he nailed that final corner in Q3, could he have won the race?
Yeah. You never know.
Maybe, you never know.
Oh.
But obviously, after mine and ours rant last time, we don't like Russia. We don't like them sort of tracks. Obviously, if he did get pole at a normal track, he might have actually been able to keep pole and the first position until turn 2, which obviously it's always nice to see maybe a bit of change in position at the start of the race. But normally, like at the start, if it's someone just getting a position by default just because he's literally defenseless, it's kind of like, oh, come on. Give him at least a good chance.
Callum had so much anger there, his camera shifted a little bit.
Yeah,
There was so much force in that, like, annoyance.
Good.
But,
Right, so I guess that's sort of like Mercedes, Ferrari,
Yeah.
the kind of top, kind of main, obviously, story from Russia.
We spoke a lot about them 3 teams quite a lot so far this season.
But like midweek news, I guess probably one of the bigger, kind of more juicy stories, I guess, would be the whole eSport McLaren gamer thing that's been launched. I think that's the biggest one, really. There are a few little
Yeah, that's what
tips
McLaren's
with other
launched.
teams that we'll get to eventually, but I think that's the biggest one. Like that's kind of like of interest, I guess, to our community as well, which is McLaren have launched this new kind of scheme. I would call it a scheme. It's almost like an employment scheme wrapped up in a bit of like a kind of new era way, where basically they're trying to find someone to be their simulator driver for a year, and to do it, they're going to hold a competition for like esports or gamers across the board, because it's not really just simulation drivers, because they're also doing, I believe they're doing all platforms on gaming, PC, Xbox, PS4, and even mobile. So they're really going to it. Yeah, they're doing mobile. They're doing mobile.
Why?
They're going to be... No, I'll get to it. So it's 6 people chosen by a panel of gaming and like F1 experts. And then there's like 4 others or something like that are chosen through online trials, which Tom is obviously already kind of know that he wants to definitely try it and go for. I mean, definitely no subtlety there with what his hand movements. But yeah, so it's not just, from what I've read from the article, they're not just looking for like the fastest guy, because they're saying it has to be like a complete package. So they're going to interview these people as well alongside the racing, and interview them and see, you know, what their strengths are, their weaknesses are, how their engineering prowess is. So that's why I think the mobile game comes into it. Like, you can have a mobile... I don't know... I'm with you, Cal. I don't know how it would work, but...
I just can't work out why
like, if there's like a guy who's good on mobile, I guess, that's like a genius engineer as well.
Right.
I guess it could be a good fit. I don't know.
It is something that I've literally just like kind of analysed. It's just the fact that if you come from a sim racing background, and obviously we have seen drivers come through and actually make it into the real racing. Obviously Stoffel Van Dorn actually began on FSR, on R-Factor. We've got Jan Mardenborough, who won the GT Academy. We have seen drivers come through from the simulation side.
iRacing.
Well, Max, yeah, but he does it alongside. I mean, like people that originally came from sim racing. And the thing is, obviously, can you dare to say that if someone with so much sim racing experience, would they potentially be better than a Formula 1 driver in the sim? Because obviously you look on the face of it, you go, why do McLaren need a sim racer if they can not just put a real driver in?
They say the gap's closing, and it's kind of logical to see why, because the simulation, like the simulator is different. All the feelings come visually, whereas the reason why a driver's maybe not as good in a simulator compared to all these people who spend hours and hours practicing on simulators is because the driver uses, basically, to put it simply, uses his butt and feeling in the car to feel everything, whereas it's all visual in the simulator. So it's a different type of training. So, you know, that's what Alta McLaren have said, that they see themselves that the gap is closing, and we've seen that in other kind of areas of esport. Not talking about the gap, but just McLaren getting involved. We've seen more and more companies do this. You know, PSG have an esports team now. Seen like, you know, West Ham, Man City, all these, you know, big football teams have esport teams now where they're signing people up. We've just seen recently like a well-known FIFA pro player, Gorilla, be signed by Unilad for the Unilad pro player team. There's a lot of actual industry growing quite rapidly in these different markets of esport, not just the kind of basic sort of, you think esports and you think like Dota, League of Legends and stuff, but there's like these new markets. And the hope is with this, that racing's slowly becoming that new market. The only issue is, like we sort of touched upon before, and like Callum just kind of brought it up by saying mobile, is the fact that there's just so many different places people can do their racing, whereas like FIFA's FIFA, like you just play FIFA, and like League of Legends is League of Legends, you play League of Legends. So I don't know, but it's an interesting idea from McLaren. I don't know what Joe or Tom think about the whole idea. Obviously, Tom wants to sign up for it for sure.
I'm looking forward to it. I think we always said after the Formula E Vegas esport race, it's something that F1 should delve into, and the only thing holding them back was themselves, really. So I'm looking forward to it. I think I'm a bit miffed as to why mobile. That's a bit like meh, but I'm sure they'll find a way around it. Hopefully, it's not like a really rubbish thing.
Just sat there like, oh yeah, I'm pro. I'm pro.
No,
Joe's playing it right now.
Yeah, that's what.
That's why he's looking for his phone. That's
why he's looking down. He's got his phone down there playing.
Yeah. No, I think it's a really good idea to sort of get almost a new market involved. As you said, Arav, like the likes of FIFA have got involved with it relatively recently. I'd say over the last year they've developed quite a bit. And it's opened up a new market. And I think with racing, I'm surprised they haven't sort of jumped on it earlier, because whereas FIFA, when you're playing FIFA, it's obviously completely different to playing football. But where you're on a simulator, it's relatively similar to when you're actually in a racing car. So it'll be interesting to see like the people that they can get involved, and sort of what sort of feedback they can give, because obviously when you've got F1 drivers who are jumping in the simulator, it's a completely different sensation. Whereas if you've got people who are already used to that sim racing environment, the feedback that they could give, I guess, just gives a different take on it. And I'm intrigued to see whether any other teams will follow suit as well in the near future.
Oh, Ferrari definitely not. Because they're not like that.
Ferrari, they won't.
I want to say everyone's here has driven like some sort of simulator at some point.
Mm-hmm.
As in like a sim game, yeah.
Yeah, like a simulator event or
like
something.
R Factor or like iRacing or something.
I swear every simulator is R Factor.
Yeah,
every single one, and even the ones that you see, like like when you do F1 and
Pro.
like you know when you see like TV, for example, like before Grand Prix weekend or before the race, they do like these Grand Prix specials, and you see like an F1 driver in the sim. It's always R Factor.
It's like a pro version.
This is where my confusing part is like, what is doing so special about an F1 sim? Because to me, I swear, even like the menu box, R Factor, the menu box in the bottom right with like the lap times and everything, it's exactly R Factor. Yeah. So like
that's the thing, Tom. R Factor Pro is that massive step up where teams can actually like simulate new parts. Obviously, you can't. You can sort of.
And it's
simulate
like, what was it?
But
I can't remember. It was like some random development TV thing Sky did like a couple, like 3 years back or something like that. Like the R Factor Pro they have running on the sim or something like that has like multiple computers hooked up and crap like this. So it's a bit of a bigger step up. But at the end of the day, it's kind of like a version of it. But it's a lot more high tech pristine. But
what I'm saying is, I'm not trying more specifically that I'm referring to more if you've got a steering wheel in your hands and you're driving a Nissan GTR, I'm pretty sure it'll feel the same on both.
Yeah, it probably does. Because obviously, like, lots of F1, like you see, like Max Verstappen, he's always on iRacing. Like fucking Rubens Barrichello, that's what he's doing in his downtime now. That's what he does. He does iRacing all the time. So it's not miles different. It's just a different perspective on what racing can be. It's a little bit more ruthless because obviously you're not driving the car, so you can take a bit more risk. And
there's no G-force involved. That's about it.
There's no G-force unless you get like a fucking proper G-force simulator or something.
I think more than anything, for like, yes, it's a great opportunity for someone to get like a dream job, I guess. I think more so. I don't think this is more important for like the fact someone's going to get to be a McLaren simulator driver. I think it's just more encouraging to see that an F1 team actually knows about esport and wants to get involved, because really at the end of the day, it's about getting towards the point where hopefully, like, you know, in 10 years' time, like, I really think it will take a long, long time, because there's many, many different issues, which I'm not going to go into, but there's many, many different obstacles and hurdles that we have to get through as, like, a community if we want to get it to, like, that point. But it's a great step to be like, okay, they're interested. It's just like, you know, Man City or West Ham or PSG buying esports team. It's like a great step for them, and it's done wonders for them because, as Joe said, in the recent year, FIFA's opened up that new tournament they're doing weekly now, and they're actually flying people out to these tournaments, and it's grown really rapidly, and it's only done that because there's been confidence of real big companies getting involved.
Also,
so
if you think about it, FIFA is just more purely a marketing ploy. Like there's no like direct correlation to playing FIFA, being good at football. The thing is, by Formula One adopting it, you could think it's got the marketing because you can just make an esport race. You can just set up, if every team had 2 drivers, like sim drivers, set them up in a race, and obviously that's a marketing thing. But if they're trying to find the world's fastest gamer, McLaren's going to gain from it.
Yeah.
Esports in F1 is a very tricky situation. We've spoke about this, I know, in past podcasts, and we mentioned this exact thing I'm going to say, but I'll just bring it back up again now. It's hard to compare the two, purely because football esports is actually it's played on the official FIFA game. Would an F1 simulator competition be played on a Codemasters game? No. So, there's the problem. We have to wait and see. Personally, look at the Formula E Vegas.
Well, that's also
I was going to mention Formula E there. You go. Obviously, they've delved into it.
It's a fine line, because would Codemasters be okay with F1 using another company's game?
That's the problem, really.
They can't send a hissy fit. Sorry, they just can't.
But I want to say, also, I won't disagree completely with you, Arif, but I'll say I never thought I'd see esports and F1 come this soon. Like we mentioned it in the podcast earlier in the season, and we've already got something already. So 10 years, I don't know, maybe not. I didn't think we get something so soon. So
I think 10 years, because I would have said 20 years before. I honestly thought it was that old archaic age. I think it's probably brought this forward by a couple. I still think there's many issues, and that's exactly like you said, Tom. That's one issue that comes up about the whole marketing, sort of the official game versus like a more simulator subscription game, and it's that issue that we've talked about before in a previous podcast of the whole. It's almost like we talked about as a positive, the fact that the racing is similar. You can like Joe said, it's you're driving a car and it's a similar sort of thing. Whereas FIFA's not. That's almost like a hindrance, almost in a way as well, because with FIFA and with COD and something like that, the community doesn't argue over the fact they're using FIFA or COD, whereas the racing community would argue to hell and back about what game you're choosing to play on.
To add on to that, you don't have multiple platforms, as well as people arguing what is realistic or not. Because some people say that a set of course is the most realistic. Some people say that iRacing is the most realistic because it's laser scanned. Some people say, and obviously most of the F1 teams say, that R-Factor is the most realistic. So you look at it on the face and you just go, some people are going to throw a hissy fit at some point. And I think we spoke about it before. There's no point in really moaning about it, because at the end of the day, if the industry standard of simulators in Formula One is R-Factor Pro, then it's going to be on R-Factor Pro.
Yeah.
You can't
argue with that.
I think
but at the end of the day as well,
another example. Just a quick point. I think you're always going to get that. So obviously, FIFA Esports is PS4 specific. So there you go. Obviously, I think all the regionals and all that. It's all, at least the ones that get broadcast anyway, is all the PS4 ones. So
you're saying that there could be an extra marketing thing because it could be, if there could be a way to host it on a.
Oh, it's just that's exactly like COD and PS4. Obviously, Sony have the deal with Call of Duty, so that's why they would do all of theirs on PS4.
Yeah.
But I think also but that's also like Callum just said about the whole, what the industry uses. You just go with that, and that's great for the whole getting someone to do the job thing. But I also think it's not. I don't think we need to put in that much emphasis in the future in terms of what platform we're using. In terms of the community always bangs on about what's more realistic, but at the end of the day, esports is esports because it's entertaining and it's a level playing field on the same platform. So it's basically a case of choosing one game, sticking with it, and then kind of analysing if the racing is actually fun to watch and it's competitive and fun to watch. And that's exactly with FIFA and COD. It's not a realistic game. It's just a game, but it's the same game for everyone, which is the crucial thing. You buy FIFA, it's FIFA. You buy COD, it's COD for the next guy along on the next controller station.
I still believe, you can pull something off on the F1 game that we currently have. I'll give you an example out of what we just did earlier. I won't spoil it, but I'm not on the person who won the races level. Obviously, only you and me on this, but you know what I'm saying? Like, for example, on Noble 209, there's very few people in the world who can pull that off.
Disclaimer, Tom's talking about a commentary of AOR, if anyone doesn't know.
Yeah. That's why I'm referring to Noble 209, just so I give another example that everyone knows. Yeah. I don't know many people on that level. So, there is like, if you look at the Call of Duty esports, they are the elite of a game that's arcade. So why can't there be an elite of the elite of a game that's simcade?
It depends whether they want to.
And straight at this moment, Tom, as you said that, thousands of keyboard warriors are commenting below.
Yeah. No, genuinely, that's the balancing act. Sorry, Joe, you go on.
I think it's a case of whether they want to go as more of a marketing ploy or whether they do want to sort of find someone who can help them help the actual F1 team. So I think to start with, they've
2 sets of drivers.
It's the
Codemasters ones, and then
it's the industry-driven esports versus entertainment-driven esports.
Exactly.
So
that's really interesting, Arif, when you brought that up about the fact that like what's entertaining or not. Surely then Codemasters can come back and just say, well, ours is the most entertaining because the most amount of people play it, the most amount of people can relate to it, the most amount of people can have a go at it.
Well, we said this before.
You know what audience is like. If you can have a go at something, you'll find it entertaining.
That's the current problem with esports ventures right now for racing games is like it's not enough popularity because no one really cares enough. Like, you know, with Forza esports, is all well and good. They spend so much money at making such a professional esports league. You know, Project Cars as well has professional esports leagues where it's like great graphics and everything, but not enough people are watching it. Not enough people care enough for it to make that next step.
I do believe F1 is getting there. I think, especially at the rate we're going with encouraging social media use, I do genuinely believe give it a few years and F1 will be a lot better. Also, I've got a perfect caveat for the next point I want to talk about, but I just think esports overall is a thing that is desperately needed, especially with the current push that F1 is pushing for with social media. Also, I believe if you do want to go for something like esports, it's very simple. I just think the game needs backing, or more backing, an actual genuine backing from F1 as a company and FOM, FIA sort of thing.
Yeah. Can I just point out something that I've just seen in this motorsport.com thing? It just said at the bottom, just kind of how it sums up esports. It says the global gaming industry is worth more than $100 billion.
Yeah.
That's more than that's like more than the movie industry. That's fucking insane.
Well, gaming is the biggest industry.
Yeah, it is.
That is
away from
absolutely
esports, just
insane.
gaming itself.
So it's definitely a marketing ploy. But do McLaren want to get a car, or do they just want?
Well,
money?
that's also another thing. Like, I saw so many people being like, "Stop focusing on this and focus on your car," which is hilarious. Which, like, I'm pretty sure it's a very separate team that's worrying about this compared to the car.
I mean, Zach Brown's probably definitely wanting to pick the exact driver.
Yeah, no, the engineers from the McLaren team are definitely involved in the process.
Yeah.
Aerodynamicists, but
obviously now,
I think.
Esports, I think we've pretty much covered now.
Yeah, we've nailed it.
Without going too far. But
we could
this
bang
is
on about this
McLaren-backed project. And speaking of other McLaren-backed projects, they seem to be very, they're very good at, covering all bases, just experimenting, really pushing the boundaries, except for the actual racing F1 team. Obviously, this week, Alonso and also McLaren, Honda, and Andretti.
Oh, that's a lovely segue.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
The helmet and also the livery. Personally, I love the helmet. Alonso's helmet is freaking sick.
Yeah.
And it's got that retro vibe about it. And also the car, simple orange, can't go wrong. The F1 car should have been like that, period. And he did some testing, and
he killed 2 birds.
Yeah.
People watched it. A lot of people watched it.
It's just a fact that,
600,000 people.
Well, yeah, like, it had millions of viewers watching it.
On
the post video.
Accumulated.
Live it was 60,000, and then I think it was at least over 1.5 million. I think it was on.
I think it was around.
It was enough. It was enough to get on the trending page of YouTube, which is a big deal.
It was number 6 on trending. That's mad.
Because not a lot of motorsport things, period, get on trending. It's not like it's not a huge worldwide sport. So to get on trending is great. Is amazing.
Yeah, it's getting that involvement from from America, crossed with the whole European interest in Formula One. It was a real crossover, which
I enjoyed that.
Yeah, it was good.
Yeah.
And I think again, that just shows that there's such a big gap in the market there
for America,
for America to actually sort of get involved. I mean, quite where it's going to happen, apart from this whole Alonso thing. I don't know.
There's some money there,
but yeah.
Americans now do like. As much as there's some annoyances with sometimes how F1 tries to translate to America. One thing they do great is like the whole kind of presentation of it all and punditry wise. Like the pundits were like great. They had Andretti on, and just like some of the questions, like even though like just the presenter guys who weren't like ex-drivers, they're just presenters for the channel. Like were genuinely like talking about interesting things rather than just some like drama crap about Alonso and McLaren, and like they were just genuinely interested about McLaren, by what Alonso felt from the car. Like, so how was that for you, Alonso? Blah, blah, blah. Instead of trying to, like, a lot of the time in the UK, they'll, like, play some kind of agenda almost about, like, so what does this say about McLaren as the team and the brand? And what does it say about you? And, like, you want to miss Monaco just like this. Whereas the American, like, coverage for the stream was just straight to the point. So, Alonso, what do you think of the car? Tell us about it. We're interested about that.
Ironically, you're so right, because Americans, I think if there are any Americans that are watching this, I think you can probably agree that you like entertainment, like your sponsors, like when you watch sponsorships and adverts, like they're really entertaining, like you like your entertainment. So literally, like the first questions that they ask drivers is, did you enjoy that? How did you find that going round this oval? And whereas obviously, like, you'll have Rachel Brooks ramming, like, a microphone in Lewis Hamilton's head going, right, how bad was that race? Why were you so poor? And you know what I mean? Like, us Brits, or maybe just the rest of Europe, we're so down. Americans just enjoy, and like, I'm not being funny, but obviously 60,000 people at one point were watching a singular car, or a singular orange car, go around and around in a circle. Like, if you watch a hot lap in Formula 1, obviously it's a bit more entertaining because it takes quite a lot of driver skill, but don't get me wrong, obviously going around an oval is a complete different skill. But the fact that 60,000 people just watched that, it's just I don't know, it's just an entertainment
even
factor.
I watched it back from a fucking exam, just like, oh yeah, I want to relax, watch something really entertaining. I was actually genuinely enjoying watching Alonso just go around and kind of have some analysis of like how his day's gone, how he's feeling. Like, I would genuinely want to know like if he's going to be, ready for this. And it was great to kind of just see that whole thing. It was good. It was good just to see the views there. Like, it was good to see the response in such a big thing, sort of like a big slap in the face to anyone who was doubting if this is a good move for F1 and IndyCar and like motorsport as a whole. It's a great move. Yeah. It's a big buzz for media in motorsport.
It's a little bit like I guess the closest thing, if you're talking to the viewers, is it's almost like a YouTube collaboration sort of thing. It benefits both parties.
Yeah.
I don't know why that idea just popped into my head.
That's a good analogy.
It's that sort of thing.
And it's working, because I basically noticed that in that live stream, they base his pace on being good or bad based off of the average speed per lap instead of the lap time. So, because every lap they kept them popping up on screen, that average speed per lap, and they were like, oh, last year they were running this much speed, so he's like this far off, and there you go. So someone's then watching the car before. I learned something new, so there you go.
Yeah. I didn't know how the what was it? Will Buxton was explaining the rookie test he was doing, and I was like, I had no idea. Like, they do this thing where it's like, okay, they go to 200 first, then they do 15 laps at 210. So yeah, he goes faster and faster, and it was just good to see that progression. And it was something that I was completely clueless on. Like, Will Buxton just tweeted for the first time. It was like, okay, I've learned something new now about this sport, and it's a bit more, you can relate to it more. It's like when I think anyone who follows me on Twitter, every time the Super Bowl comes round, I try to watch it and try to understand. Every year I forget what I learned from the previous year, but I have a go, and I genuinely, by the end of the Super Bowl, I've enjoyed watching the Super Bowl because I've learned about how it works. But it's all like that. Like Indy 500 will be a second Super Bowl I watched this year, or I guess technically in the next year of sport, of like, something that I don't know what it is, but I'll watch it with some intrigue, and I think a lot of people are going to be like that. They'll watch the Indy 500 for the first time because Alonso's there.
Yeah. Joe, are you watching it?
I will be watching it.
Have you ever watched an Indy 500?
I've watched a couple of IndyCar races, just as you're scrolling through channels and whatever, and you come across it. But it's never something that's really been pushed in this country, and across Europe at all. So the whole, like I say, the whole Alonso thing has just got a whole new community involved, and there's definitely more gaps in the market for F1 to do a similar sort of thing, because F1, it just has the potential to be such a massive sport, and I'd love to see more sort of involvement from other parties and see where that goes, really.
Well, that's something everyone could really learn something from. I mean, for example, and I always bring up the same example every single time. MotoGP do wildcard riders at certain events. So, for example, last year, in the last race of the season, Casey Stoner, who's a former world champion in MotoGP, was given the option to enter as a wildcard for a one-off race because he retired and he's just basically a test driver for them. That'd be sick. For example, McLaren Honda give a wildcard to Jensen Button to race for one race, and McLaren have 3 cars in a race.
Yeah. I mean, it's almost like tennis wildcards as well. I know it's an iffy subject, but Sharapova coming back with wildcards. Obviously, it's a different case because she was banned, but you do have wildcards that technically the tennis organisation could give to any player. So it could, just like you said, like MotoGP, like it could that would be insane if you just rocked up and just went, oh yeah, this old retired driver is just going to come back for one race, just banter around and race.
It could be talks and be like, okay, Montoya's come back for a wildcard race at Monza. Sick.
Banter.
The only problem that I can see outlined from this is if there's a crash and it's because of
the wildcard driver.
Could you imagine how salty A, the driver gets, B, the media gets, and C, the fans get?
You're forgetting point D, the most important one. He'll still win driver of the day, so he's winning at life. Yeah. So it's done.
Exactly.
It'd be hilarious.
That'd be sick. That'd actually be sick.
It'd be
hilarious.
And the wildcard driver's taking Hamilton out. Oh my god. Vettel's got blue flags for the wildcard driver.
Yeah, sort of like a Vettel Massa situation where you're like, oh, he's ruined the end of the race.
The wildcard driver ruined my charge. It'd be hilarious. It'd be great.
I think overall that's most of the topics for this week. Obviously, there was the Shield, which throwback. This is actually kind of like a throwback.
Okay, yeah.
That's
the
first ever topic that we went.
Pretty decent topic. There was a fair bit about the whole what we're going to do now for safety. So what was it? The Shield got. It's going to get trialled.
It's going to be trialled in Monza, is it?
Monza, right?
Yeah.
So we've got the canopy, the
thanks.
halo, and Tom. Basically, from Team Tom over there, he's going to go. No protections needed. Obviously, it was a knee-jerk reaction, but I'm kind of glad that they've retracted the knee at the moment.
They've retracted the knee.
They've gone. Oh shit! I'll take it out.
That's one way to put it.
I cannot see any benefits from the Shield compared to the canopy.
No.
I kind of feel like out of the 3, the canopy looks the most logical.
None is the most logical.
Well, yeah, not until
unfortunately, none's never going to be a case now. We are heading towards that needle. It is going to happen.
Yeah, you've got to take the needle at some point, Tom. So you may as well take the needle now.
Just like the more smaller engines, it's going to happen. It will happen and continue to happen.
So do they want to run it in just practice, or do they want to do it in the race?
No,
I'm guessing practice. It'll be practice, just like the Halo.
To test the Italian Grand Prix, right? Okay,
because they'll need a certain.
Thank God the Halo got scrapped anyway, though.
Yeah,
let's just say that
the Halo
was really horrible.
Yeah,
I think it's one of those ideas, though. I think seeing as we're looking into these different kind of protections, you're always going to get one like the Halo, which was never really going to work, but it's almost like that evolution it needed to go through the stage of trialing trash things like that. I agree with Carl. I think that the canopy was probably the looking like the best option, which they was it Red Bull, I believe, trialled last year.
Yeah, that's all idea.
I think
looking at more slick ideas, isn't it?
But I think the one that they're going to trial in Monza, was it Kevin Magnussen said, I believe last week, he was asked about it in Russia, and he said it could be a problem with the rain. Because obviously they have to look through the visors, and then they'll have to look through this canopy.
Yeah.
And obviously, whereas the canopy that Red Bull trialled, I believe, was literally right in front of the visor, whereas the new one that they're going to trial is
goes
more
along the top of the monocoque,
which is
stops where the little windscreen would be.
It's like a windshield on an Aeroatom or something like that, almost. A little bit bigger, but it's not big enough to be like Red Bull's screen.
Here's the thing that I can see from it, because I'm looking at a picture of it right now. Unfortunately, we can't put it on the screen because otherwise the F1 probably might scream at us again. That's why I've no longer been able to.
Oh yeah, that's it. Yeah,
images.
I pointed out in the comments. The reason why we don't put any pictures anymore is ever since like a podcast like what was it, 20 or something, where I basically put in the title,
really bad
Hungary
race,
was
yeah.
shit. FOM. Someone physically from FOM saw the video, took it down because they were salty about us talking bad about the sport, and used the fact I used pictures of F1 as the grounds to take it down. So now we don't use any pictures, so we can say
We've
what the
got
hell
a
we
really
want.
nice animation. It was so much better. So,
Yeah, so much better.
enjoy
But
that.
Anyway, if you
Well,
can
for
get
the
it up on
format,
your
it
screen
won't be
now,
an
have a
animation, will
look.
it?
Basically, it looks like something that would deflect debris. Like, don't get me wrong, it looks like it would something. Because obviously that's your point. But okay, the freak accident. Let's use that scenario. That's not going to protect against a JCB, but then again, nothing probably will. So then you look back at it even more. Okay,
Exactly.
so
So you just have no protection then. Simple as that.
I'm just looking at it now. And I'm just
Massa,
like,
would it have,
things
I
can
don't think it
still
would have
hit his
prevented the
head.
Massa incident.
Exactly. Well, I don't. Well, this won't.
No,
This
that's what I
definitely
mean.
won't.
I don't think it will. And
That's the thing. You
Yeah.
look, obviously, they're all freak accidents, and actually, thank you for bringing up that because that's one of the perfect examples. You look at it and you go, right, the Halo one might have done actually. The Halo
I don't
might
know.
have.
That's a
It might hit
height.
it, but it might have deflected somewhere. The canopy, it will hit the windscreen, it will smash it, but it will be alive or with a working eyebrow. Don't know how eyebrows work, but you know what I mean. I'm just looking at his shield. I'm just like, it's not going to deflect anything.
Yeah, and obviously, seeing as it is right across the front of the car, I don't know whether this was what Magnussen was getting at, but I'd imagine that is exactly when it's raining where the flow of water is going to be coming along. It comes straight along the shield.
It's in your eyes.
Exactly, and then come straight along, and obviously you're looking through a wet visor, a wet shield. You know what?
And
are
then
they
you've
going to
got
be
an
able to
F1
see?
race that's turning into one of Joe's last man standing videos.
Yeah,
It's just like
exactly.
everyone's just like off on the head. I can't see anything. I can't see.
And
In some ways, it's very brief and it annoys me. Right. If you go into a JCB, what form of cockpit protection is going to save you?
Yeah, I know
Arguably
nothing.
not.
But
Not
that's
right.
a freak accident.
Is Massa alive?
Yes.
Yeah.
Does his eyebrow
He
work?
was. I don't know. How does an eyebrow work?
Does his
I'll tell you.
eyebrow?
Put it
Right,
this way:
I can
if
tell you it
Massa
does.
was half. Well,
I
if
think
Massa
that-
was
I think
maybe
the-
like a couple of centimeters to the left, he would have probably.
I think the argument here, just for FIA and for the industry as a whole, is it's very you're playing with morals and fine lines if you're waiting for something fatal to happen. That's genuinely like not a freak accident, and that's what happened with Senna. F1 didn't care, and they waited until that happened, and that's only then why we've had 20 plus years of every year they try and improve it. Rapidly they improved it after his accident, and that was the case. It was just the F1 was waiting for an accident like that. Unfortunately, it had to happen, and it happened to two drivers in the same weekend.
Yeah. Well,
That's
that's why I get angry when people hate the virtual safety car, and it's just like surely you know the reason why there is the virtual safety car. Like I know it's not all things, as much as sports are entertainment, not everything in a sport is entertaining. I think we have to take that pill and kind of swallow it whole. So the fact that when people do say the virtual safety car is boring, yes, it is boring. Is it saving people's lives? It's probably reducing the chance.
It's better than the
someone
FI throwing
skidding
out a
off the
full
circuit.
safety car. I'll tell you that sometimes.
Exactly.
So in certain
again,
situations, you don't want it.
With the whole shield, halo, canopy, whatever you want to call them,
It's dead.
they are.
It's
But
dead. Yeah, no,
you can't
I
argue
don't
that
think
they'll do
anyone's
nothing.
arguing that it's dead, Tom. I think everyone here knows it's dead. But
Yeah, we know
sadly,
it's
it's that.
boring. Yeah,
it's like
exactly.
the V6 engine. It's basically that sad fact that
No, but it's
eventually
calm
it had
now.
to happen.
Decent. Like the qualm that starts the
Exactly.
sound. Now you're like,
Yeah.
alright.
You become
Decent.
accustomed to it.
Yeah, but
It
that's what I
requires
think.
that.
I think you would become
to virtual
accustomed
safety
eventually.
car.
Like
You become
eventually.
accustomed to having a canopy.
Like also, it's a telling thing when any F1 designer is told to design their future F1 car, and it's got a cockpit like the WEC cars, where it's a full-blown cockpit. It speaks a lot for where the sport will go eventually. That all future designers design an F1 car that looks like
You've
that.
just got to
Because
accept
aerodynamically, it is actually better to have that window closed off.
That makes
I-
sense. To be fair.
My counter argument to FIA in this scenario would be, as much of a rarity and of a freak accident would be to have a freak accident, it would be just as common that the fact that, for example, a full-blown closed canopy wouldn't open because of a failure. For example.
Yeah, I mean that's the reason why they're trying to do a canopy sort of like a not fully closed off thing, because they're too. It's not like because as much as it would look maybe like a WEC sort of cockpit, it's not a WEC car where it's like it's more similar to a normal road car sort of like layout. So there are kind of infrastructures there where the door would just open completely always. But yeah, there is that case, and that's why I think that's why they're going for the half solution, which is
that's the thing, because the driver is technically
tricky
in the car. Like if they put a canopy that was closed, obviously they've got to get themselves out of the car.
It'd be a faff.
It'd
be a faff,
and then open the door. Whereas in the WC, they're kind of sat in it. Do you get what I mean? Because the driver's
like
natural
it's
door.
like a normal car.
Is designed around the driver.
You open the side door and you can put a leg out and get out, whereas the F1 guy has to lift himself out of the cockpit.
Yeah, it's almost like a spaceship in an F1 car. It's like
so
different operation.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a debate that's going to keep going on. It's one of those things like the engines and like the F1, where F1 should go as a whole. It's one of those things where I don't think there's a winner or a loser. I think there's just opinions, and I think it's I just hope FI don't muck it up and choose like an ugly ass thing.
Yeah.
Just, as much as selfish it is, I just really hope it's not that ugly that it's like, I don't want to look at an F1 car and be like, oh, that's gopping. That's just, no.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, we still have thumb noses in 2017. So.
I mean, I've got to use those. I don't think those are very gopping. I think you can get rid of I think you can look past it when it's going at 220 miles per hour. It's like, okay, it's just got shot past. It's fine. It's fine.
No, but I still... No.
It's not the thumb noses the problem. It was the dick noses in 2014.
The dick.
Yeah, but now they still are. They just happen to be like
but
one inch wonders.
even then, like I don't like them as well. But I've got used to them. Just let them race.
No.
Yeah. Anyway,
as long as like you got Vettel and Hamilton going,
Anyway,
to possibly wrap
Spain
up.
predictions.
Should we do some predictions for Spain?
Spain predictions, yes.
All right. Well, obviously me, because I was a genius last time. I predicted Bottas to win.
No one cares.
Yeah.
No one cared. You weren't here.
No.
Joe,
yeah, but
our
I
guest
got it right.
will kick this off.
Okay.
Go on, Joe.
Well,
Give us well, we're going for pole and then your kind of top five.
All right. I think pole is going to be Bottas. He seems to have been really on it in qualifying, and I wouldn't be surprised to see him do that again. And I think Bottas might win the race as well. I'm going to Obviously, Spain, again, notoriously difficult for overtaking. Yes, you've got a long run down to turn one. But I think that Russia race has really... I hope it's given Bottas a good bit of confidence to go ahead and mount a championship charge. So I'm going to go him for pole and the win. I think Ferrari will be up there. So I'm going to say Vettel second and Hamilton third. Obviously, had a difficult weekend in Russia. Then I think the B-Spec Red Bull will be an improvement. I'm going to give Verstappen fourth, Ricciardo fifth. I'm going to say Raikkonen's going to have a poor weekend.
Okay.
I would have passed him, to be fair.
Well,
right. Tom?
You're wrong because Kimi Raikkonen's going to get pole.
Right.
And then the winner of the race is going to be Kimi Raikkonen.
Well, that's different.
Just to keep the
I'm
consistency of different winners this season. I predicted Bottas to win last time.
No,
and he
continue
won,
on.
okay?
Continue on.
I'm
not
the
worried
voice
about
of
that.
reason
Continue
here.
on.
I'm Claude from
Continue
Arsenal
on.
Fan
No,
TV.
you don't know what I'm worried about. Continue on.
In second place, it will be the other Finnish driver, Valtteri Bottas. Then it will be Sebastian Vettel. Then it will be Lewis Hamilton again in fourth. I feel like Lewis is not in a good place. Then Red Bull fifth and sixth, but they're going to give them a very good run for their money.
Interesting. Because Hamilton got pole last year, so I'm going to stick him on pole again because I feel like he is. I think he's quite good.
Get out of here, fanboy.
Yeah, I know, because you can't support your own driver at all.
Of course not. What are you on about? It's illegal.
And then I think for the race, I think we're going to see a Red Bull on the podium at some point, but I think we're going to have Hamilton win, Raikkonen second, Ricciardo third, Bottas, Vettel. There's troubles for Vettel.
No. Okay. I'm going to go... This is why I'm worried, because I agree with Tom here. I'm going to go Raikkonen pole.
See, I knows.
I'm going to go for, though, Vettel wins. Going to go Hamilton second, Raikkonen drops back down to third, unfortunately, after a poor start to the Grand Prix. I'm going to go Verstappen fourth, and then I'm going to go Bottas fifth.
So we've got 4 different winners.
Yeah, we've got all bases covered.
And this is why we love 2017, because we don't have a clue who's going to win.
It's great.
Well,
I like that.
There's two
I like
factors here. You've got to factor in the 2017 inconsistency, and you've got
And
to
then
factor in the Spain inconsistency from the last 8 years. So there's 2 factors here. Also, small
And
caveat.
also, you got Hamilton, who's now kind of questionable after last weekend. You've got Raikkonen, who's always questionable. Bottas, unknown. And Vettel also depends on how everyone else does.
And then Red Bulls
Red
are
Bull.
all unknown.
We don't know Red Bull.
Small
So
caveat.
it's a very tasty Grand Prix coming up.
What's Tom's Danny caveat?
Oh no, I'm not coming in for that. I'm not coming in for that. No, I wouldn't class it as news. This is not major, but obviously, new designs on the F1 cars this weekend because the whole name thing on the shark fin. So I think it's this weekend. So
faster points. Yeah,
we shall see. That might look pretty cool. Who knows? I think it could be a pretty cool thing. I feel sorry for Sauber, who literally designed their livery on basis of putting a number 9 on the sideboard just to put another one on the shark fin.
It'll be nice to
now.
see the driver names on like the shark fin. That'd be quite cool. Like seeing Vettel, Ocon, Hamilton, all this stuff. So
I think overall though, as much as like you don't want to really hope for a bad race, but you look on the
2x2 all round.
You look at Spain. It's not the easiest track to overtake anyway.
No.
Never mind with 2017 regs. So maybe if you're not part of F1 Twitter, get yourself on Twitter and you get a lot more entertainment from that. Put it that way.
And follow all of
this
us
race as a barnstormer. So and I missed it. So yeah.
Yeah, great one. So do you want to just miss this one as well? Yeah. Okay. Cool.
Well, I missed
sorry.
Sochi. So if you want me to miss again. Yeah.
Maybe that's it.
door's
Last year it was Tom missing the great races. Maybe this year he misses the worst one. So Tom, stay put.
Oh, okay.
Right.
Yeah.
So that's been podcast number, I've forgotten the number, 46?
47.
47. I knew that. Episode 47. If you have enjoyed it, hit that like button. Let us know what you thought in the comments below. As always, I forgot to mention it yet again, but, just because it's there on screen. We're on SoundCloud. You can download the audio if you want. But yeah, I hope you have enjoyed this. I hope you have enjoyed we've enjoyed, certainly, having Joe on as a guest. Joe, thank you for joining us. And,
no worries. Thanks for having me.
Check out Joe's channel, link in the description. Also, check out Callum and Tom. Subscribe to this channel for more podcasts. Obviously, we'll be back with the Spanish race review. And as Tom is indicating, the Twitters are above our names. So go check us all out on Twitter. As Callum said, you can join in on the race banter. Twitter is really the only place to be while the race is going on. It's absolute fire on the timeline. But yeah, we'll see you guys next time. Hope you enjoy the rest of your day. Goodbye.